I know, is that the fun one? Oh, I love it. Okay. Boker Tov.
Okay,
Good to see everyone, and to be back to our learning. Oh Hashem, hello to everyone on Zoom. Good to see you. Please feel free to open up your microphones and participate. It's important. Yes, there is a stack over there.
Ricky, you know you gotta be quiet, right?
No.
That's all. I don't see her. Is she on? Tell me, no. I don't have glasses. Give me a wink if you see her.
I'm gonna be quiet. I don't know if I'll behave, but I'll be quiet.
Okay.
Danny, you want to sit next to me? Come here.
No, then I'm gonna have to separate you, but you're gonna have trouble. I love it.
He's like my second husband.
He doesn't even know what he just walked in the door. Okay, okay. Shavua Tov, v'chodesh Tov. We are beginning our learning. I need a little bell to call the students to order. It's not students to order. The people in the classroom are very excited to see each other again. We invite you. Batangaransky came back to the class from Zoom. So we invite anyone who's on Zoom who wants to come back to the classroom. We encourage it. And Ricky Balsam all the way from Matanya. See, we will begin our learning by dedicating our limud to all those who are in need of a refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, and to our chatufim, may Hashem bring them home safely, b'ri'im u'shlemim, to their families, and watch over our chayalim, keep them safe, and that they should be successful, and that all of the residents in the north and in the south should be able to return to their homes. B'ezrat Hashem. I spoke to Ada Lewis during the week of Shiva, and I said that I wanted to dedicate our first shiur back to studying, to in memory of her husband, also the father of Liora Damlin and Lani Margolis. So may our learning be Le'ilu Nishmat Reuven ben Eliyahu ve'Ella Lewis. Le'ilu Nishmato. The series this year, everyone just caught the end part, which said weekly parsha. Okay, but the first part is character development, and those of you who were with me in the course during COVID, when we were sitting outside, remember in that little sukkah over there, in that tent, remember that? We were sitting outside in the tent.
We have
Yes.
2 new students, everyone.
Hello.
I never did a class with her before, so I figured I'd try, and if she's rowdy, I'll just leave.
Welcome, with pleasure.
So there are a lot of mothers, grandmothers here.
So we studied together during COVID, the 48 ways. The 48 ways in which Torah is acquired. And last year we did a series on tefillah. And this year I wanted to go back to the idea of avodah lamidot, a character development. But I very much wanted to have a text that we could work from. So the idea came to me that we would use the weekly parsha as kind of our guidebook. So my family said, very nice, Ima, good luck when you get to Vayikra. Meaning, Breshit, well, that's easy, right? But what's going to happen when you get to Vayikra? That's going to be challenging. I said, okay, that will be my challenge. Okay, so it's a work in progress, and you'll help me. But because we're doing Avodah Hamidot, I really hope that people will feel that they can comment and participate. It's very important. And also on Zoom, because the screen is far away, Unfortunately, I can't see you. If you put a hand, I really just need you to open your microphone. It's all right. You can interrupt. Kol tov. Interrupt if you want to ask a question or make a comment. So the Torah puts great stress on character development, on becoming better people. And this is called tikkun hamidot, or correcting or improving our character. We must always strive to correct our faults and improve our character. Yahadut does not believe that we are what we are and that's just it. Okay, this is who I am. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Yes, correct. Whatever I am, okay, this is the way I am. Yes, we all have certain personality traits. We're all different. Some of us look at our own family members and we say, how could these people have grown up in the same house with the same parents and be so different, right? So we do have, each one of us, of course, personality traits, but in general, we all know what our strengths and our weaknesses are and where we can improve. The idea, of course, is that we all know that even when we're trying to be the best that we can be, we could always improve slightly, okay? And hopefully, through an interesting topic, perhaps through the parsha, we could focus on something that we can take to our own lives. So, firstly, I just need to give you a short parsha summary. Then we can take out what it is that we're going to be discussing. In this week's parsha, Parshat Lech Lecha, there are a lot of very interesting things. I was quite challenged to actually just choose one. But quickly in review, a summary of the parsha taken from Chabad.org. Even here, I shortened it even more. God commanded Avram, and I'm trying to be careful to say Avram because his name is only changed at the very end of the parasha, where Hashem adds the hey to the end of his name. God commanded Avram to leave his father's house and homeland and travel to the land that he will show him. This is, of course, according to the Mishnah, one of the first trials or challenges that Avram has. That's the Lech Lecha, right? We all know, most of us looking around the room, we've done our own Lech Lecha, right? We've answered that call to leave our father's house, our familiar country, to come. But Avram's challenge is El haaretz asher ereka. He doesn't even know to where he is going, right? That's the part of the challenge as well. God promised to make Avram the patriarch of a great nation. Avram obeyed, taking his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot. Once Avram arrived in Canaan, God informed him that he will eventually give him the land to his descendants. Avram traverses the length of the land until a famine forces him to travel to Egypt. This, of course, is a continuing challenge because once we make Aliyah, we say, oh, okay, we're here, yofi. And then what? Then the lift doesn't come. Then we have to stand in line and Bituach Naomi and Risal Briut and all of the other things that happen. Avram finally makes it to Eretz Canaan, and then what? Then there's a famine, right? No, I thought I arrived. Okay, now I can sit, rest. No, continuous challenges. As a result of the famine, Avram goes to Eretz Mitzrayim. Fearing that the Egyptians would kill him in order to take Sarai, Avram asked her to allege that he was her brother, right? To say, Achotihi, Avram says regarding Sarai, we could say it's a white lie, right? But still, indeed, because she was very beautiful, that's exactly what happened. Sarai is taken captive and brought to Paro. God struck the members of Paro's palace with a plague, causing Paro to hastily release Sarai. He puts two and two together. He understands that what's happening in his palace is because of Sarai. He then gives Avram and Sarai gifts and riches and had them escorted out of his land. That's a nice way of saying, right? And then Avram returned to Canaan. Lot, who had accompanied Avram and Sarai, was also independently wealthy. When Lot's shepherds quarreled with Avram's shepherds, the two parted ways, with Lot settling in Sodom, which was renowned for its evil inhabitants. The southern region of Canaan was embroiled in a major war involving many kings. We actually are not so interested in the geopolitical situation at the time, but it affects our story because in the war between the 4 kings and the 5 kings, Lot is taken captive. That then relates to our story as Lot right now is one of the major characters. Lot is taken captive. When Avram hears that Lot is taken captive, he goes out in battle. and defeats them, releases all the captives, returns Lot and all of the spoils. I thought how interesting that we always relate to Avram as Isha Chesed, right? The person of loving kindness. That's the midah of Avram. And also we talk about next week's parsha. We'll see Avraham and his achnasat olchim, right? How the open tent. We always say this is the legacy of Avraham Avinu. We never think of him as a what? As a lochem, right? As a soldier. And yet, when his brother Lot is in trouble, what does he do? That's it. He goes out to find, rescues him, and brings back the captives. Avram, everybody knows. Yeah, sit and learn. Okay. Avram rebuffed the king of Sodom's wish to reward him with the war spoils. When Hashem reassures Avram that he will be greatly rewarded for his righteousness, Avram approaches his childlessness. He says, "You promised me that I'm going to be the father of a great nation, but what? I don't have any children." God assures Avram that he will indeed have a child and promised that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars of the heaven. Avram requested a sign from God that his descendants would inherit the land of Canaan, and God responds with the covenant between the pieces, the Brit Ben Abtarim. God told Avram that his descendants would be exiled and in bondage for 400 years. This ends up being, of course, the Jewish people in Mitzrayim, even though Mitzrayim is not mentioned. At the conclusion of this period, Avram's descendants would leave with great wealth. God would punish the nations which enslaved them, and Avram's children would inherit the land of Canaan. Following this, Sarai, seeing that she and Avram were childless, suggested that Avram father a child with her Egyptian maid Hagar, meaning that Sarai is not convinced. She understands that Avram will be the father of a great nation, but perhaps since she is struggling with infertility, it's Avram's descendant through someone else. And so she gives to Avram Hagar. Hagar conceives and begins to mistreat her mistress Sarai. The problem becomes because Sarai, I think in her mind, the idea was that Hagar would be a surrogate mother and it would be her child. The problem is that what? Hagar is not in that same place. Hagar is, she's going to carry the child and it's going to be hers. And so what happens is that Sarai mistreats. She deals with Hagar with the heavy hands, prompting Hagar to flee. Hagar encounters an angel who encourages her to return to Sarai, promising her that the child she will bear will become a great nation. She obeyed and gave birth to Ishmael. Ishmael is also named ahead of time, just like Yitzchak by the Malach. God changes Avram's name to Avraham, adding the letter He, father of multitudes, and Sarai's name to Sarah, and promises that a son will be born to them from this child whom they will call Yitzchak, and will come a great nation with which Hashem will establish a special bond. Avraham is then commanded to circumcise himself and his descendants as a sign of the covenant between me and you. At the age of 99, Avraham circumcises himself, his son Ishmael, and all the members of his household. This is also considered one of the challenges of Avraham, to circumcise himself at the age of 99, not a simple matter. What I want to look at today, and again, I hope it will be helpful to us in terms of the things that we face in our daily lives. I want to talk about conflict resolution, using the model of Avraham and Lot. As we have here two family members, and the idea that each one has chosen a different path, and indeed, perhaps, the decision that the best way for us to maintain peace is actually for us to separate and to go our separate ways. So first we need to understand how Lot comes into the picture. What is his relationship to Avraham and Sarah? How does he come to be, as it were, right, part of this family package? So we go to the very beginning of the parasha in Hashem's command to Avraham, Lech Lecha. The truth is that the story begins at the end of Parashat Noach, in which we find out that Haran, Lot's father, died, and Terach, the grandfather, right, is kind of taking him, is taking care of him. After Terach dies, then that falls on Avraham and Sarah. Hashem says, "Vayamar Hashem el Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha mimoladetecha beit avicha el ha'aretz asher ereka." Go from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will become a source of blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse he who curses you. All the families of the earth will be blessed using you as an example. Vayelech Avram kasher diber elav Hashem, vayelech ito Lot. Together, as Avram sets out on this Lech Lecha, just as God directed him, Lot goes as well. Avram ben 5 shani v'shivim shana b'tzeito micharan. Avram is 75 years old when he begins this journey. Avram took with him his wife Sarai. ויקח אברהם את שרה אשתו ואת לוט בן אחיו. So now we know what their relationship is. Also Lot, his nephew, all their possessions that they had acquired, as well as the people they had acquired in Haran. They set out, vayitzu, all of them, this group, lalechet al Canaan, vayvo al Canaan. And so, when we talk about the group, which is going, we have Avram, Sarai, Lot is part of this group. All of their possessions, the people that they have acquired, their servants, slaves, etc., part of this group. So, Avram, Sarai, and Lot. This is the group, right? And all of the other people as well. After the story of Paro, in which Sarai is taken and then returned, Paro gives a great deal of gifts and wealth to Abraham, probably in order to appease him and also to make him leave, right? You've caused too much trouble while you've been here, just go. So, in addition to Avram now having a great deal of wealth, so does Lot. This is chapter 13, Perek Yud. ויעל אברהם ממצרים הוא ואשתו וכל אשר לו, ולוט עמו הנגבה. From Egypt, Avram went up to the north of Canaan, he, his wife, and everything he owned, and Lot was with him, meaning Lot does not stay in Egypt, he doesn't leave the group, he is there as well. Just as we began our journey, leaving Ur Kasdim, right, with Lot, so he's here as well. Avram was heavily laden with cattle, silver, and gold. A nice way of saying he's very, very wealthy. He continued on his travels from the south of Canaan towards Bet El until he reached the place where he had originally had his tent between Bet El and Ai. The site of the altar that he had built there at first, where Avram had invoked God, and now again Avram invoked God there. Lot, who had accompanied Avram, had also acquired flock and cattle and tents. What's interesting about this pasuk, now pasuk Hey, is not that Lot now has also acquired flock and cattle. Part of it is a result of the gifts of Paro. Also, perhaps he's a savvy, herdsman, businessman, etc. His flocks have produced, okay? But the last word in the pasuk is interesting, and that is the word ve'ohalim. Ohalim doesn't mean that he went to the Ricochet store and he bought for himself tents. What does it mean, ve'ohalim? It means that Lot himself now has a family. He has people that live in tents, right? Meaning, previously it was Avram and Sarai and what? And Lot. And now, suddenly, Lot has Ohalim, meaning he has servants and very possibly also what? Wives, perhaps even in plural, or wife and children. Okay? That's the meaning of the term Ohel, right? Saying that we say in the Talmud, Ishti Beiti, right? My wife and my bayit are synonymous. The word Ohel means that Lot now has a family. What might we think is now going to happen? If Lot has his own family, perhaps he doesn't need to be, so close, independent, can be independent, doesn't need to be so attached to Avram and Sarai, right? Possibility, just as many of us know, kids grow up, leave the nest, okay? Maybe this is the natural progression of what should be happening.
Then those days they didn't do that so much.
Correct. They live in Chamulo. Lot, right? Everybody lives together and they don't necessarily.
Plus, he's the natural Yoresh.
Very good. We're gonna talk about the fact that until now, Lot seems to be the one who's going to inherit Abraham, correct? פסוק ו' ולא נשא אותם הארץ לשבת יחדיו, כי היה רכושם רב ולא יכלו לשבת יחדיו. The pasturage of the land between Bethel and Ai could not support them living together, for their possessions were so extensive that they could not remain together. The possessions, rechusham here, is not all of their belongings, but rather their sheep, cattle, all of the things that they now have, because the pasuk says, well, at least in the English translation, the pasture lands in the area in which they live can no longer support them because they have so much. What does that mean? Abraham has sheep and cattle, and Lot has sheep and cattle. Eventually, the pasture is going to run out, right? Right? According to the pasuk, lo yachlu lashevet yachdav. They couldn't sit or remain where they were together for economic reasons. Simply, they couldn't stay there because the land itself cannot support two very large, as it were, grazing communities. ויהי ריב בין רועי מקנה אברהם ובין רועי מקנה לוט, והכנעני והפריזי אז ישב בארץ. A quarrel arose between the herdsmen of Avram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were living there in the land. Notice that the quarrel is not between Lot and Avram. The quarrel is between who? Ro'ei, ben Ro'ei miknei Avram, ben Ro'ei miknei Lot. Between the shepherds, right, of this one and the shepherds of this one, there is a riv. ויאמר אברהם אל לוט, אל נא תהיה מריבה ביני וביניך, ובין רועי ובין רועיך, כי אנשים אחים אנחנו. Avram said to Lot, please let there not be contention between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen. After all, we are relatives. It's very important. This pasuk chet, is the key to everything which is going to happen afterwards. First of all, Abraham initiates and speaks to Lot, and he says, let there not be a contention or conflict between me and you, even though what? The quarrel had been between the herdsmen. Right? Ben Ro'ai uben Ro'echa. What does Avraham understand? That the quarrel between the herdsmen, each one is what? In a sense, representing their boss or their master. Okay? And Ki anashim achim anachnu, the English says, after all, we are relatives, which is very nice, but the Hebrew is very powerful. Ki anashim achim anachnu means what? We're brothers. We're brothers. The relationship between them is that of uncle and nephew. In the end, we are brothers. That's the bottom line, right? This seems to be the reason why Avraham says, let there not be a what? A meriva between us, because there's a bigger picture, and that is ki achim anachnu. Halo kol haaretz lefanecha, the whole land is before you. Hiparedna me'alai. He uses the word please. Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the north, I will go to the south. If you go to the south, I will go to the north. Avram does not chase Lot away. What does he do? He actually uses very nice language. He says what?
Pick.
Please. Okay? He pared na me'alai, and he allows him to choose, which is really important. We're going to see with regard to conflict resolution. He says, you make the choice. And whatever it is that you choose, I will go to the right. And if you choose to the right, I will go to the left. Lot looks and sees all the kikar and the plain of the Jordan was well irrigated before God destroyed Sodom and Amorah. It was like God's own garden, like Egypt, and it extended as far as the city of Tzohar. It occurred to me that we do not hear Lot's voice. After Abraham makes this suggestion, what does Lot do? First of all, he doesn't argue. He doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no, but what does he do? First of all, he doesn't say no, but what does he do? He says what? No, maybe this is a good opportunity for me. Meaning, economically, the land can't hold us. Maybe I will upgrade. Right? Maybe I will upgrade. Maybe Avram is actually affording me an opportunity, right? And the opportunity is to go somewhere where the pasture is actually better. He raises his eyes, and what does he see? The area of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's like a garden, meaning it's very, very fertile. So Lot chooses for himself, Vayivchar lo. Vayivchar lo is also very important in terms of the text. No one should think that Lot is banished, that he's sent away. Avram giresh oto. Vayivchar lo Lot et kikar Yarden, vayisal lo mikeder, vayipradu ish me'al achiv. Meaning, Lot makes a choice. The choice is his, and he makes it, and he chooses to go to Sodom for economic reasons. The end of the pasuk, I think, is also important. Vayifradu, they make a decision to what? To separate, but still the verse calls them ish me'al achiv. Meaning, it doesn't seem that there is bad bad blood, but rather a decision that this is good for both of us. Lehi pared, right? And the fact that the Torah calls them still ish me'al achiv, meaning we still maintain a good relationship, right? We're still achim. V'Avram yoshev be'etz Knan v'Lot yoshev b'arei hakikar v'yachal ad Sodom. Avram chooses to stay in Canaan. Lot dwells in the city of the Jordan River plain, pitches his tent throughout the whole plain as far as Sodom. And then the text tells us something almost in parentheses. ואנשי סדום רעים וחטאים להשם מאוד. The word me'od is very powerful, meaning the inhabitants of Sodom and its neighbors were wicked and sinners. Greatly, me'od. They sinned against God. The choice of Lot to Sodom is an economic one, but we cannot escape the fact that together with that comes what? Not very good people. Not very good people. Now, is the text telling us something new? It seems that is something that was known. It seems that it's something that was known. The people of Sodom are not very good people. Meaning, Lot makes a decision to go to Sodom based on economics. That's very clear. But even an economic choice may have repercussions in terms of your neighbors. That's the truth. Yes.
So you can see from the fact that when makes the choice, he automatically goes to the best.
To go to the better place. He goes
Looking for what's best for him.
he is for his own interests.
Would we expect him to go to the worst place?
To the worst place?
Okay.
Right? It's not necessarily bad that he's looking to upgrade, right? I have an opportunity for something better. Okay.
Yeah. But it depends if you say upgrade in what? Upgrade in what you own or upgrade in your spirituality or whatever.
Okay, very good point.
It's
Meaning perhaps Lot, very good points, perhaps Lot is upgrading physically, but by the Torah telling us that the people of Sodom are ra'im chata'im Hashem Lord, perhaps he upgraded in one sense, but in terms of the environment that he's going to be living in, and we'll see this in the upcoming parshiot, of course, right? The people of Sodom will have an influence on him. So perhaps now he has more pasture, etc. But spiritually and on his character, the people of Sodom will have an effect on him. But Vayivchar, that was what? His choice. That was his choice.
But would the other town that he could have lived in the same area where it was not the same native to the faith?
Could he have chosen another place?
In that
same area?
Were there other cities that?
Well, Avram says, if you go to the right, I'll go to the left. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. It seems that there is choice. The land is open in front of us. No one is stopping us. But this is incredibly appealing, very, very appealing, as it's very, very fertile land. Okay. The irony, of course, is that when you make the journey down to Sodom today, what do you see? Right? You see Yam HaMelech is what you see.
He could have discussed with Abraham, saying, you are stronger than me spiritually, so perhaps you have to go there because these guys are not good guys and will be better from them. And I will go on the other side because it's easier. So there is no discussion here.
No, there's
But he
no,
was
correct,
given the choice
correct.
where he wanted to go.
Yes, no, we don't hear any discussion, correct? Avram says the choice is yours, we don't hear Lot's voice, correct? We don't hear,
Yeah, it's like-
but Lot makes a choice, but you're right, we don't hear any discussion.
So then I see what his priority,
Hmm?
his priority was to.
His priority was to better his economic standing, correct?
So we don't know if he has any access to the information that that's not a great place, right? Is the word Ma'od telling us that the reputation was of?
It's a very good point, why does the Torah add the word meod? Is it something that's well known already, right? That it's a place where there's a bad influence and people behave in a certain way. The name of Sodom they've already created a name for themselves, right?
It's kind of the same today still. It's the same situation
Sure,
today.
people make economic choices to live in certain places, which may or may not be a good choice for them in terms of Jewish education or neighborhood or et cetera. People often make that decision, for sure. Okay.
Also, in the order in which it's written, he looks up and he sees all the good, and then he moves there, and after he moves there, it says that the place is bad. It doesn't say, like, he looks up and he sees all the good, and by the way, the people are bad.
You're saying only after
Only
after
he
Lot
moves,
has
and
made
he
the
talks
decision,
about
talks about how the people
how
are.
the people are bad.
But there was a quarrel between the shepherds of Avram's cattle and the shepherds of Lot's cattle. That's the word the Torah uses, the word riv. It seems that a riv had broken out and Avram decided to separate from Lot, so there would not be a meriva. Because if you look in Pasuk Chet, at the top of page 3, "Vayomer Avram el Lot, al na tiyeh meriva beini ubenecha." There wasn't a meriva before. Before there was a riv. But now Avram uses the words meriva. What does that mean? The obvious question is, what's the difference between a riv and a meriva? And what are the different quarrels? So Rabbi Moshe Al-Shef explains. A riv is a small isolated argument, whereas a meriva is an argument that spills over and consumes both parties until the relationship is ruined beyond repair. Noticing the riv, Avram quickly takes charge to nip it in the bud before it becomes a meriva. Interesting what the Al-Sheikh says. He knows that there are two different words used in the pasuk. Between the shepherds, there's a riv, and it's something small, perhaps. But what does Avram realize? That if he does not take the initiative now, the riv may become a meriva. And we all know this to be true. That sometimes small things, when they are not dealt with, what happens? They become big things. They become big things. Yes. So the fact that we learn from the psukim that Avram sees what's happening and takes the initiative to prevent it from becoming a meriva is interesting. The Talmud in the name of Rav Huna suggests that a quarrel is compared to a puncture in a hose, which causes water to burst out. If the hole is not repaired quickly, it will widen to the point where it can no longer be fixed. So too with a dispute, if it isn't worked on immediately, the damage can be irreversible. Here's my question. What is Avram worried about? Okay, so the shepherds are not getting along. Maybe he just needs to put out. Maybe it's just a work-related issue. What is Avram worried about? Why does he take the initiative? Why does he now step in? Lot is not doing anything. Okay. I think he realizes that the small leaf, not only could it escalate, but it's not such a small leaf. It's not such a small thing. Meaning, what it is that they are quarreling or arguing about, right, has repercussions. What were the shepherds quarreling about? Rashi quotes the Midrash. An ongoing dispute arose, meaning it wasn't a one-time event, but it was what? The constant, right, a quarrel, and which I also think is quite humorous, because with certain people, we always come back to the very same arguments over and over and over again, right? It just happens with certain people, that this is the argument, right? This was because Lot's shepherds were wicked and sent their flocks to graze in the field of others. when Avram's shepherds rebuked them for this thievery, Lot's shepherds responded, the land has been given to Avram, whose sole heir is Lot. That's what Danny said. Thus, we are only taking what is rightfully ours. Two things are at the root of this quarrel. What are they? Two things according to Rashi, and that is one, that Avram is very careful about not allowing the sheep to graze in land which is not theirs. Rashi even says Avram would muzzle the sheep, which I can't even imagine such a contraption, but muzzle the sheep and the camels so that they wouldn't graze in land which was not theirs. Lot's shepherds are not careful about this. Okay? So one issue is the gezen, right? The idea of what? Being conscientious about not stealing from other people's property. But the second part of the leave is important, as when they were rebuked, why are you allowing the sheep, right, to graze in other people's properties? The answers of the shepherds of Lot was, the land was promised to Avram, and Avram doesn't have any children. The heir of Avram is Lot. We are not stealing, we are only taking what will eventually be ours. This thinking, Avram understands, is very problematic, okay? For two reasons. One, the fact that they've already decided that Avram doesn't have children and won't have children, even though God promises him that he will be Avram Goyim and that he will have children. Meaning, the fact that they've already, what? Lot is the heir of Avram, and this is known. How is it known? How do the shepherds know this? Only if they heard it from Lot, correct? They're only repeating what they've heard from their boss or from their master. Okay, that's one. And the second issue, we are only taking what's rightfully ours. That's very problematic. Very. Meaning, imagine a child going into the parents' bank accounts, taking the credit card, playing them out, and saying, I'm only taking what is rightfully mine, because when you die, you're going to leave it to me anyway, so I'm just going to take it down. Okay, but it's stealing. It's stealing. What does that mean? Avram's, what? It does happen. You're right. It's frightening, but it does happen. But this is why Avram has to get involved. He sees here two very, as it were, big issues, not a riv katan between what time is the coffee break, etc. Who left is that? No, this is a yesodi. It's the foundation here between believing that Avram has no heir, or the heir of Avram is Lot, and that it's okay to steal, because eventually the land will be ours.
Was it known that the land was gonna be Abraham's and that he was supposed to have another kid, or that was like a secret?
Well, it seems that Lot surely knows that Avram shared with him, right? What was said, what was promised, etc. In fact, the verse does not actually say Avram and Lot were arguing. It says the argument was between the shepherds. So why does Avram feel that Lot should leave? It may well be that that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it was not that the shepherds, of Lot were stealing, it was that Lot did not see anything wrong with it. Meaning, this has been going on and Lot has not stepped in to put an end to it, which means this is a bigger problem than what I envisioned. Noticing that there was no way to effectively stay together, Avram then suggests a solution. Both parties could expand and grow in their own direction, ending the source of conflict while still on good terms. The fact that it says Shem nifradu ke'achim is very important. Each one of us, this is a good solution for both of us to grow. Sometimes breaking off a relationship is a sign of a lack of desire for peace. Sometimes it's an indication of a desire for peace, which can only be achieved by separating the two parties. Avram was a man of chesed and peace, and in order to achieve that with Lot, in whom he had already invested so much caring and training, perhaps to lead an upright life, and he is disappointed with the results. But in any case, he knew that this is the only option if peace was to reign among them, if they were to maintain good family relations, it would have to be from afar. Here's my question. Is sometimes the only option for people to keep the peace to separate? we do know that sometimes that's the case. Sometimes that is the case, especially within families. Sometimes, yeah, we'll see you at Rosh Hashanah and at family simchas. And that's and by doing so, we maintain what? A civil relationship, right? Otherwise, too much of this would actually create a big, as the Torah says, meriva, and then we couldn't remain brothers. So maybe this is a good solution for both Avram and Lot to maintain good family relations. We could also argue in terms of divorce. Sometimes the best situation for everyone is to separate, right? And then we can actually maintain, raise children together, do whatever it needs to do, right? But the peace, the shalom is maintained by separating. By examining Avram's interaction with Lot in relation to this conflict, we can learn a lot of lessons about interpersonal skills. Let's look at Avram's words and his approach. אל נא תהיה מריבה ביני וביניך ובין רועי ובין רעיך כי אנשים אחים אנחנו. Avram said to Lot, please let there not be quarreling between me and you, and between my shepherds and your shepherds, for we are brothers. First, when faced with a problem, Avram takes the initiative and communicates his concerns directly with Lot. This already is very important. We will have later in Sefer Bamidbar the fact that Miriam speaks to Aaron behind what? Behind Moshe's back. This meaning that Avram directly confronts Lot with the situation is very important and takes the initiative. In contrast, when faced with a problem, many of us may be tempted to remain silent, especially if we are the type of people who like to avoid conflict. It can take courage to tackle an issue face on. I know about myself that I am a peacemaker, and many times I don't want there to be conflict, so I simply don't say anything. The problem with not saying anything is what? Sometimes it makes it worse, meaning in my tremendous hope that the problem will go away, guess what? Surprise, surprise, it doesn't go away, right? And sometimes it just stays there, and sometimes it becomes worse. Yes, sir.
Should Avram have tried to influence Lot?
It's a very, very good question. Should Avram try to influence Lot? We're going to see a very interesting midrash in the continuation. So thank you for that comment.
And same way, should Abraham explain directly to Lot, as you said, the two issues? Why do you think I won't have any child? What do you
And
think?
why
Why
is it
not
okay?
explain
Why
it
didn't
and
he
say,
explain
shall
it
we-
instead
shall
of
we-
straight away going to the issue of let us separate? Okay, that's a very good. Perhaps this was a teachable moment, and Avram fisfes, right? He should have been more proactive in terms of teaching.
It's so funny that the text just says that the land couldn't support them.
Couldn't support
and that all this other stuff is midrash, and they tend to say, Avram is always the good guy and Lot is always the bad guy.
Okay, very
So
good.
it's shepherd
Okay,
of bad,
okay.
it's shepherd of
Nachon,
good.
nachon. Meaning it's netto in terms of the shot, an economic decision, right? The land cannot support them. You go your way and I will go mine. The text does say that there is a riv, right? Based on something. And therefore, in order to not allow this riv to become a bigger issue, it's better if we separate. In addition to courage, it also takes good communication skills to directly engage with someone who has wronged us. Avram teaches us the correct way to approach someone in these circumstances. Avram calmly and clearly raises his concerns with Lot. He uses very pleasant language. Please, al na tiyeh meriva. Please let there not be a quarrel between me and you. Ki achim anachnu. Ki anashim achim anachnu. For we are brothers. When we raise a concern with our friend, there is no need for an ugly confrontation. We can speak pleasantly and let the other person know that we have an issue that needs to be discussed. We all understand that when a person is confronted with, we need to talk, or etc., a person automatically might become very defensive. Looking at the way Avram uses the words, please, right? Let there not be contention between us. We are brothers, right? Already softens the place for them to actually discuss this, even though we don't hear Lot's voice, but he doesn't come with antagonism or anger, etc. Just last week, I was in a shop in which someone came in and she was very upset, and she spoke to the shopkeeper and she said, I left my watch here for repair and it was broken, etc., etc. And the man said to her, until you don't lower your tone of voice, I am not engaging with you. And I realized that it takes, it's good that he said it, because as soon as she raised her voice, he was feeling, threatened. He was feeling threatened. And he also said the store is full of customers. Please wait. And when the store empties out, and we have to sit and talk with you. And I also thought to myself, that was also a very good tactic, because for her waiting for the shop to empty out, hopefully she would have what? Calmed down.
Right.
Hopefully. So my kid said, so what happened? I said, I left. I didn't want to wait and see, but they were curious. So what happened? I said, I will say. But the idea is that as soon as you raise your voice, right? So Avraham is using a very, very important technique here. Please, right? Soft tone, achim anachnu. Resolving conflicts. Rabbi Dr. Mordechai Schiffman. Without effective intervention, conflict escalates quickly. Whether at work or home or with friends, if a fight isn't nipped in the bud, the consequences can leave a long-lasting negative impact. Yet, instead of directly dealing with conflict, some people avoid it. They pretend it doesn't exist, even though it's still there under the surface, primed to erupt. Other people shut down and withdraw completely, which prevents resolution, makes the problem even worse. Still, other people fall into a cycle of perpetual arguments over an extended period of time, leading to increased tension as the arguments repeat ad infinitum. We also know certain situations like that, where the same leaf keeps what? Coming back over and over and over again. Abraham, being in the position of power, could have just brazenly demanded that Lot leave, yet Abraham uses what Dr. John Goodman calls a soft startup. He starts very peacefully and politely, using calm and inviting language. Please, let there not be. Al natiyeh meriva. Second, Avram states the issue without placing blame on Lot, which is really interesting. Avram takes partial responsibility, even mentioning himself and his herdsmen in relation to the conflict before mentioning Lot and the herdsmen. He actually says, right, Beni uvenecha, ben ro'ai uben ro'echa. He says, when there is conflict, sometimes it's very easy to simply blame the other side. You did this. Abraham says, if there is conflict, then what? There are two sides, and those sides have to carry some weight and responsibility. And he says, Beni uvenecha. That's the truth if there is conflict. I also am not just pointing a finger at you. I take responsibility, and ben ro'ai uben ro'echa. Meaning, right, that's a very important lesson as well. Third, in order to avoid a me versus you mentality, Avram reminds him of their closeness and their strong relationship, anashim, achim, anachnu. Finally, Avram empowers Lot with the autonomy to choose which direction he wants to go in. Avram was willing to compromise and accommodate Lot to avoid building tensions. You know what, Lot, you choose. And whatever it is that you choose, I will go in the opposite direction. Avram serves as a role model by teaching us how to approach conflict rather than letting them fester, meaning taking the initiative, teaching us how to resolve conflict. First, right, soft words, not blaming, taking responsibility, focusing on the shared relationship, and in the end, compromising. Avram and Lot were able to move forward on good terms, setting the stage for the next phase of their shared story. There will be a continuation. There will still be a relationship between Avram and Lot, and that's important. Meaning their separation, they're each taking two different paths, does not cut them from their family relationship. Rashi explains, you go left and I will go right, as really meaning I won't be far off and I've got your back. It's a fascinating interpretation of Rashi, because we would assume that when Avram says to Lot, you go left and I will go right, that we could read into it, wherever you are, I will be somewhere else, right? That's how we could read it. Rashi says, no, wherever you are, know that I am not far away. Know that I'm not far away. It sounds like such a twist of logic. Ultimately, when Lot required his help, as it says, and Avram heard that his relative was captured, Avram went to rescue him, meaning the idea that they separate but still maintain the concept of achim anachnu means that when you are in trouble, you know that what? You can count on me. On a personal note, I'm sure that Abraham was disappointed in his nephew. He has spent a great deal of time, what? Taking care of him, raising him after his father died, caring for him, etc. He's become part of their family unit, surely. But on the other hand, he is now grown. He also now has rechush, he has his own possessions. He has an ohel, people that he's responsible for, and he has made his choice. And it also is about accepting that what? People will make different life choices, whether we agree with them or not, that's their bechira, that's their choice. But Avram still maintains the kesher achim, and that's important. Even though Avram and Lot parted ways, what do we learn from the fact that Avram rescued him? What's the expression in English? Blood is thicker than water. Is that the expression, right? Meaning, mishpacha, right? He still cares about him, Family is family. We have a long bond together, 100%. Right. Now, this is to answer your question with regard to perhaps Avram could have taken a different approach. I've never seen this midrash. It's a chidush for me, but I think it's very interesting because, as Danny said, sometimes Chazal paint Avram as the good guy and Lot as the bad guy. Perhaps there's another way of reading the text. The Torah tells us that after Lot's departure, Avram received a prophecy. Hashem promises to Avram that his descendants will become numerous and possess the land of Canaan. The Midrash tells us of a dispute between Rav Yehuda and Rav Nehemiah concerning the prophecy and its relationship to Avram's separation from Lot. Rav Yehuda maintains that Hashem was angered by Avram's treatment of his nephew. Avram sent Lot away because of Lot's improper behavior. Avram understood that Lot had precipitated the strife that had developed between their respective shepherds. Nonetheless, sending Lot away was not the proper response. It's the first time I saw criticism. It's the first time I ever saw criticism of Avram in terms of his behavior. This Midrash, Rav Yehuda says, no, Avraham should have what? Worked harder. It was perhaps too easy to say, okay, this is the easier solution. What he should have done was, he should have worked to improve Lot's character. Avram's mission was to change the attitudes and behavior of humankind, and this responsibility began with his own family members. It's a very interesting comment, right? You're busy going out to do kiruv in the whole world, and what did you forget? Oh, your mishpacha, your own mishpacha. You're busy. Okay, but you failed here, close to home. It's a very interesting, and it's the first time I've seen this perush. Okay, again, perhaps my teachers also had an agenda to pay things only in a certain way. It's important to see the other view. It's important to see it. Yes.
He had so much Avram too.
Avram.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he had the Yerusha thing dangling over his head.
You say he could have used all kinds of other techniques to keep him from going to Sodom, and perhaps it was easier, perhaps, to let Lot go. It's very interesting. Again, something that I never thought about before. Again, someone could say, many times we sometimes take perhaps the easier solution instead of working on a relationship. Okay, you find it's easier, you go your way and I go mine, and okay.
But how is he supposed to know that the people of Stone were so bad?
We're so bad. Okay. But it is a decision to leave the path of Avram. Yes.
In Avram's defense.
Yes.
Like Reba said, did Avram know that the people of Stone
Were very evil.
But the fact that
Okay.
it says it here, is not
Okay,
good.
maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't know. Okay, correct.
So the same Hagar and Ishmael.
Hagar and Ishmael, yeah. That it's easier to send them away. Okay.
So
Hashem,
there he had trouble.
that comes from Hashem, right?
There he had trouble with it. He was not so happy.
With Hagar and Ishmael, we hear in the text Avram's conflicts with sending away his son, correct? Here it doesn't seem, right, that there is such a conflict. It's very interesting,
Therefore,
very interesting.
not treating his nephew the way his nephew thinks that should be treated like a son.
Son.
Doesn't have any children.
Ah, yeah, very good. So that's the next opinion.
Also,
Yes,
when Abraham says you choose where you're going.
Yes.
He did not know that Lot would choose to go.
to go to Sodom. Huh? Rabbi Nehemiah maintains that Avram acted correctly when he sent Lot away. Rabbi Nehemiah explains that Hashem had assured Avram that his descendants would take possession of the land of Canaan. Hashem's intention was that Avram would have his own children, and their progeny would be the beneficiaries of this promise. Lot's presence at Avram's side and his close association with his uncle suggested that he and his descendants would also share in the legacy. Only after this potential source of confusion was eliminated did Hashem reiterate and expand upon his promise to Abraham. The second opinion is very interesting of Rabbi Nehemiah, which is, as long as Lot is part of the family unit, what? Even Abraham and Sarah think that he's almost like their son. Yes. Until Lot doesn't separate, can then Abraham and Sarah think about having what? Their own child. They have now spent all this time and energy and years pouring all of their what? Their energies, education into Lot. And maybe this separation was necessary. It was necessary, or time showed that it's time. It's time for Lot to move away. Only after Lot can move away can Avram and Sarah actually what? As it were, have a child, right? Lot can move on, do what he needs to do, or choose, as it were, his own path, not be under the umbrella of Avram and Sarah. It's an interesting idea as well. Lot, the promise and the tragedy. Rabbi Ephraim Buchwald says that to Avram and Sarah, Lot was a great disappointment. They had hoped for better, but in the end, what? People make their own life choices. That's the truth. Imagine a conversation between Avram and Lot. Avram warns Lot not to become too friendly with the people of Sodom, and Lot replies, "Don't worry, Uncle Abe, I can handle it. I can withstand the temptations." We can imagine a young person saying, "What? The old people, they're always worried about these kinds of things, right? We, the young people, always have the answers, right? Until they become old and they realize that." Slowly but surely, Lot is seduced by the Sodomite environment. It is, after all, virtually impossible to live near Sodom and not be seduced by its attractive but decadent lifestyle. Vayahal ad Sodom, and he moved his tent as far as Sodom. Once Lot made the purely materialistic decision, once he decided that the spiritual life of Avram was not for him, and instead chose the lush, fruited plain, it was inevitable that Lot's lifestyle would compel him towards the blandishment of his life. He said, whether or not he knew that the people of Sodom were Ra'im, right? In any case, once he was living there, it was inevitable that he would be influenced. That is why we see later in the narrative that Lot, who grew up in the household of Avram, could say to the people of Sodom who wished to harm the visitors who had come to Lot, "Please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters who know no men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out to you, and do you to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing." The shocking truth of the fact that Lot is willing to protect the guests who come to his house and offer out his 2 daughters to be raped by a mob is a perversion of what he learned in the house of Avram. Meaning that Achnasat Orchim takes precedent over my own family. This is shocking. Meaning Lot learned something in the house of Avram, but what? It's become perverse while he's living in Sodom. In his perverted new Sodomite morality, Lot offers up his daughters to be violated by the men of Sodom in order to save the strangers who come to his home. But the Torah never writes off any human being. There is always an opportunity for return for tshuva. After all, it's Ruth, who is Lot's great-great-great-granddaughter, the princess of Moab, who returns to Canaan and reintroduces the quality of chesed, the quality of mercy and loving kindness to the families of Israel. The fact that Avram does not cut off ties with Lot, the fact that Moab comes back to Ohel Avraham, who is this? This is Ruth, the Moabian, right? She comes back through, right, all kinds of interesting ways, right? But her return is perhaps, the pathways are made by the fact that Avram says, "Achim anochim," right? We are brethren, and we should never, right, cut off ties with family. In the end, the descendant of Lot finds her way back to the family of Avram. This is root. Okay.
Yeah, interesting, because you could also say, well, look, he did avoid temptation. I mean, he perverted it, but he tried to be different from but.
Correct. He's the only person who invites anyone in Sodom.
But your children, what happens to the next generation? They grew up in Sodom.
Correct.
You can't fight.
That's something you can't fight. The effect, meaning Lot, while being raised in the house of Avram, still maintains some of the Avram quality. But with regard to his children who grow up in Sodom, that's almost impossible, right, for him to have any control.
But
over
they
them.
did have a difference because you can tell by the way they named their sons after they had relations with.
Moab and Ammon,
Right.
yeah. Okay, interesting. Thank you, everyone. Shavua Tov. Thank you for your participation. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone on Zoom want to open up their microphones? Happy to hear from you.
Thank you.
I wanna, if you have a bad apple, it'll wreck the whole barrel. You have to, you can cut out the bad parts and use it right away. But what if you, what's in the bottom of the barrel?
Meaning the apple is not bad, it can be like there's something. Like, wow, if you leave it, the others, then that behind is great. It's great. Then it wants.
Thanks, Gina.
Raise the app.
She was fine.
Yeah,
She was fine. She was fine. Batman.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I like, this is the first time I tried to bring the line back to back kids from track. They really great. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Hi, Gina. Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I wish I could make it. This thing. Oh, this is Zoom. It's on Zoom. Yeah.